Some crimes are famous because they were so clever, others because they were just so audacious. Well, the Lufthansa heist is legendary for being both. It was this brilliant, perfectly executed robbery that just completely dissolved into a bloodbath of paranoia and murder. So, let's get into it. This is the story of a crime that was flawless in its execution, but absolutely disastrous in its consequences. Okay, so picture this. December 11th, 1978. At New York's JFK Airport, a crew of mob-connected thieves just casually walks away with nearly $6 million in untraceable cash and jewels. I mean, in today's money, that's over $28 million. At the time, it was the single biggest cash robbery in American history, period. But a score this massive, it didn't start with some huge bang or a master plan. No, it started with a whisper. Just a simple piece of information, really, that was born out of one guy's desperate gambling debt. And that one little tip would set in motion one of the most infamous crimes in mafia history. Right at the center of this whole web is one man, James Jimmy the Gent Burke. Now, this guy was an associate of the Lucchese crime family, and he was a terrifying paradox. On the surface, he was this charming, charismatic gentleman, but underneath, a stone-cold, ruthless killer. He was the kind of guy who could plan a multi-million-dollar job and then, order the murder of his closest friends and not lose a wink of sleep over it. So how did this tip get to a guy like Burke? It's basically a criminal food chain. It starts with this guy, Louis Werner, a Lufthansa cargo worker who is just drowning in gambling debt. So he spills the inside scoop to his bookie, Martin Krugman. Krugman knows this is way too big for him, so he takes it to the well-connected Henry Hill. And yep, that is the exact same Henry Hill from the movie Goodfellas. Hill then takes this golden ticket of a plan and delivers it straight to the mastermind himself, Jimmy Burke. Just a simple chain of greed leading right to the top. So, with the plan locked in and the crew handpicked, Burke set the stage for a robbery that would unfold with, military precision. In just 64 minutes, that's it. They were going to pull off the score of a lifetime. And at 3 a.m., it's on. A black Ford van pulls up, and the crew moves in. They're quick, they're quiet, and they take the employees hostage with zero fuss. Their inside information was perfect. I mean, they knew everything, the layout, the security protocols, even how to get through the vault's crazy double-door system without tripping a single alarm. They were like ghosts. By 4:21 a.m., it's all over. The van, now stuffed with 72 cartons of cash, just drives away, with another crash car running interference. They had done the impossible, and just vanished without a trace. It was, for all intents and purposes, the perfect crime. I mean, think about it. They did it. They got the money, they had a clean getaway, and the police had absolutely nothing to go on. This should have been the score of a lifetime, right? So, the big question is, why did it all fall apart in the most violent way you can imagine? The answer wasn't the FBI. It was sitting in the very same room. Yeah, that celebration was very short-lived. For a guy like Jimmy Burke, the mastermind, that thrill of the score was replaced almost immediately by one single terrifying thought: loose ends. He decided the only way to be truly safe was to erase every single person who could connect him to the heist. And Burke's paranoia, it all got kicked off by this. The very first, and you could say stupidest mistake. The getaway driver, a guy named Parnell Stacks Edwards, was supposed to take the van to a junkyard and have it crushed into a cube. Simple, right? Instead, he got high and just left it parked illegally. The police found it 2 days later. And inside, his fingerprints. The very first thread connecting this perfect crime back to Burke's crew had just been pulled. And this quote, this gets right to the heart of Jimmy Burke's cold, hard logic. The van being found sent him into a total spiral. The cops now had a link, and in his mind, the only way to sever that link for good was to get rid of every single person who knew his name. Just like that, his partners in crime became liabilities. The cleanup was, well, it was swift and it was brutal. I mean, just look at this timeline. Only 1 week after the heist, Stacks Edwards, the guy with the van, is the first to go. Then the bookie, Martin Krugman, he just vanishes. The flashy couple who made the mistake of buying a bright pink Cadillac with their cut, murdered. Within 6 months, nearly everyone connected to this robbery was dead.
and not at the hands of the law, but by the order of their own boss.
So, with most of the crew and pretty much all of the witnesses dead, the case turned into one of the longest, most frustrating investigations in FBI history. And the outcome was, to put it mildly, really unsatisfying. This slide really says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you've got this long list of suspects: the crew, the planners, the mastermind himself. And on the right, the list of people who were actually convicted for the heist. It's a list of one guy. In the end, Jimmy Burke had pretty much murdered his way out of a conviction for the crime of the century. That's right, the only person ever held legally responsible for what was then the largest cash robbery in U.S. history was Louis Werner, the airport worker whose gambling debt started this whole bloody mess. He got 15 years. Jimmy Burke, he'd eventually die in prison for a different murder, but he never, ever faced justice for the Lufthansa heist. So what about all that money? I mean, to this day, not a single dollar of the almost $6 million has ever been recovered. Not one. The cash, the jewelry, it all just vanished. Just like the men who stole it. It's still one of the greatest disappearing acts in criminal history. So what's the final word on the Lufthansa heist? Is it a story of criminal genius, a flawless, legendary score, or is it something much darker? A tragic story about how greed rots into paranoia, a brutal lesson that in that world, the biggest threat isn't the cops, it's the person standing right next to you.